Hey, what's up, guys? So, there's less than an hour till this next season starts, and I wanted to make some changes to my defense. And so, I did a couple things here. Well, first, I spent a lot of time talking to Sear, but I talked to him. We chatted yesterday on Discord just about some ways to beef up my defense. And I got a comment on Facebook that mentioned that I should do that. And so it appears that that's as necessary as possible. And so, as fortunately, you see down there, I got a 3 mil pull, and I had about 15 mil. So I went in and I put all that I could to take the rest of my Pegasus to level 100. So you can see that with them there, and as well as I took Nebula and Atom to 100 because I'm going to finish off Infinity Watch to level 100. So by next week they'll be level 100. And my gold is down to nothing, but I get the pass, so it'll replenish pretty decently over the rest of this week. So it's not so much of a worry there, and that's kind of why I decided to do it. And so I just took a look at first the teams I could put in that were level 100. And of course that's out of time because it took them level 100. I have XTX at level 100, Dorm at level 100, and I have Rogue at 100. And so I said, let me go with these teams here. Now, you can see the rooms that I have. And the XTX Dorm is because Doolam said he had some success, and sometimes that room will cause a double tap. And Desir said he had that happen just yesterday on I don't know, 15 or 20 mil punch up he had, something like that. And the guy that went against Desir actually couldn't clear, I don't know if it was his Pegasus, but, and I'm going to go into why I put in Pegasus. That has a lot to do with my conversation with Desir, and then just going back looking at the gamer Juicy video and how Juicy commented on the advantages to running Pegasus over like Bifrost or Extreme. And then I'll get into why I'm doing Room 3 the way I'm doing it. You can probably, kind of guess and figure out why, but I'll get into that a bit. Of course, I think the whole idea of Black Order with Quicksilver is what most people say. It's low budget. I did put in resources into Thanos. I did have the gear to take most of my Black Order up to 17 or 18, and the rest are level 95. It could be that during this season, if I keep running this team, I'll take Cole 100 just to see if he's able to help drag it out. Quicksilver, of course, is 100. The whole advantage to this team being low budget, but you still got to bring in something decent to counter them or to clear them out. And so that's the idea behind this team. Infinity Watch, of course, speaks for itself because they just drag down efficiency. And I'll get into why I'm keeping them in 5 because I thought about Room 3, and as well as why as well as why Out of Time is in Room 5. And so, but I'll talk about 1, 2, 3, and 5 and 6 a little bit more after we kind of go into the MSF counter spreadsheet. And that's something that's on Juicy and Doolam's website. So what I'll do is I'm going to flip over to that and show you guys how to get to it from their page. I actually saved it on an old server of mine. It was a captain's channel when I was a leader. And so since I still have it, I just put it there so I can get to it easier. But let's just jump over to Discord, to their Discord server. So this is the Council of the Streamers. And here is pretty much where the submission spreadsheets go. This is where guys add their videos and the counters get added. If there's a unique counter that's never been done before, those counters get added to the spreadsheet. And so you can see Zoboy Fresh, he's on here. He's putting in, trying to get his counters on the Desir. You see me on there, and Updog. And so this is how the guys are getting on there. And I think everybody knows Jex is probably the best at this, so he doesn't really need to submit his here. I think they just go look at his page and they grab those counters. But you scroll down to here where it says CC spreadsheet. And then as guys are adding more and more counters, it rolls up I think Desir posted this, so it's right here. So you just click on it here. And so what I did to try and figure out ways to get a better defense based on not taking away from offense. And as you can see, I put secret defenders back on offense, and I'll talk about why a little bit more. Not just because they're not doing so great on defense, but because I think they will be better served on offense to counter and get the higher scores that we need this season. But I'll tell you the strategy I used. The first thing I did here, and as you can see all the counters, you can just go down in alphabetical order on opponent's team. So that's the easiest way to search. And you go down, you see all the counters. So what I did is I said, let me take a look at, and we'll just start at the top. I said, let me take a look at the counters the teams used. And what I was concerned with, because my opponent was very strategic in making sure that I would have to decide on where I would use my scroll. And so that's a great strategy to do. And so what I decided to do, I said, let's start with where we can see Cabal is being used. This counter sheet will grow, but based on what we have here, let's just use this information to help make a decision. And so I went through and I said, okay, Cabal. And so Cabal on Bifrost, you see raid room, you see room 2, raid on Crucible, raid on Crucible, raid on Crucible. That's what Cabal is used. Then room 5, it was Black Knight, Extreme, and Rogue. So we go down some more, Cabal. And Cabal was used in room 4 against Cabal. Cabal dooms Scroll mostly. And so as I was doing that, I decided to, as I was looking, I saw a few places where Cabal was used on room 6. And so what I did is I said, well, let me just see what's going on in room 6. So I went to rooms. Now, I'm not quite sure how you filter this, so I'm not going to try to do that now. But you get in here, and so you go down. I was looking at room 6. And so for room 6, yeah, I'm seeing what people are using. They're using Dorm Doom, Ghost Rider Robbie, Cosmic Ghost Rider, another Ghost Rider, but it was countered with APOC Eternals. So that's not really going to be super strong. That's like basically what we're seeing. So as you overlap and you look at where Cabal was used in room 6, and I think what I came across, here it is out of time. Out of time. And I said, well, who came up with that? And then so I looked across, it was Jex. So really the only counters that have been used, and Jex will probably come up with another counter that doesn't use Cabal or Kang or APOC, whatever he has here, you can probably come up with something else. But that'll be because he's going against it, most likely. He may tell guys what to use, but they're not Jex, so they're not going to necessarily be able to get it figured out, because there may be an attack order, and then RNG can play a factor, because unfortunately I think a lot of Jex counters have a lot to do with RNG, so he's able to adjust on the fly because he understands the turnover and the order, and he understands when things get adjusted by looking at the buffs and things taking place in the game, and then he'll make a switch. So, and that can be kind of difficult because you got to be paying attention to a lot of things. There are some giveaways when tunes kind of light up or they flinch, they're about to go, or when you see the buffs, and then if you know all the signs, you don't have to click on them to read and see what actually happened. And so those guys are really good at that part. And so, but what I decided, that's how I decided on out of time in room 6, because it pulls a Cabal. And I said, well, okay, well then Cabal could be used in room 6. And then so I doubled back and I looked at room 4. I said, well, what can I put in room 4? Because I know I'm going with XTX in 1. So let's just shoot, because that'll be easier to show you. So when we look at XTX Dorm in room 1, we see 3. Now, we're not going to count the Jubes one because that was counted by Masters Evil. And I'm not saying these can't either, because you see XTX Dorm with Sunfire, which I have Sunfire in 3, and that's because of his offense up. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But so you see here, XCX Dorm countered by Cabal. So I said, okay. Now, I'm pretty sure guys can go in, and if they're really skilled, they'll make Masters of Evil work. Not Masters of Evil. Well, Masters of Evil with APOC, they may make that work. And then they may be able to work with their Superior 6. But just going off this to make a decision on how to set up my rooms for today, I said, well, that's a choice between 6 and 1 where guys would use Cabal. I said, okay, so we're going to run that in those two rooms. I said, well, let's just take a look at 3. And so when we started looking at 3, well, before I get to 3, let's just take a look at Infinity Watch. So I took a look at Infinity Watch, and where's Infinity Watch? I took a look at Infinity Watch, and Infinity Watch is just being run in 3 and 5, and I thought about putting them in 3, but as you look at room 3, and I'll leave it here so you guys can kind of focus in on it, you'll see that a lot of the counters were Masters of Evil, and there are more War Dog counters in 3. Not saying it can't be done in 5, but there were more in 3. So that limited things to Eternals, and that's why I'm saying I decided to take my Infinity Watch up even more, because that might make it a bit harder. That might drag out the fight a bit longer unless they go in with Eternals and APOC, which that's another thing I started looking for was, okay, where was APOC used? APOC Eternals. But you have a lot of Eternals comps in 5. So that's fine. Let's just keep that there, because I don't want to empower War Dogs, which is a team that's barely being used. And then, of course, guys, you see Pegasus here, but Pegasus, that's either in 3 or 5 is still to our advantage, because if guys are running Bifrost, if you decide to run Bifrost, then most guys are going to keep their Pegasus available for that, or their Scroll Hive Mind. And so that's a limited thing there. And we'll look at the Bifrost in a minute too, just to kind of get an idea on that. But to stick with Infinity Watch, I decided on 5 more so because the main thing you see is Eternals. That's okay, so that limits things. So even though Eternals are probably not being used anywhere else, they're being used there. Whereas when you start seeing in 3, you see more Masters of Evil, you see Pegasus, you see War Dogs, and things of that nature. And I'm not saying you see, obviously, Superior 6 can take them. That's fine. I think that's just a last resort, and guys didn't have to use Superior 6 anywhere else. So that was the decision to keep them in 5, as well as I think that when I looked at 5, what else was running room 5? So when you go down and you just look at room 5, and you guys, if you can put time into doing this, you'll see what I mean. But you look at what people are running: Darkhold Emma, Masters of Evil countered. Then let's get past Infinity Watch, and then you look at, say for example, Out of Time in 5, countered by New Warriors, countered by APOC Kang. They had a Nova in there. Then you go down to room 5, and so New Warriors. And so I said, okay, well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to give them more options with New Warriors. So let's keep Infinity Watch in 5, because they're not really using New Warriors on Infinity Watch in 5. So that was another reason to stick with 5. So, of course, now that gets us to 3. And so what I did is I went through 3, and I just took a look at the teams being used. And as you go through, you'll see, well, let's get past Infinity Watch. You'll see, get past Out of Time. You'll see like SD Noir, countered by New Warriors Lizard. You'll see Superior 6, Eternals, Doom. You'll see Superior 6 again, Scroll, Hela, Doom. And so I said, okay, well, you don't necessarily have to have the most powerful team in here. And if this is where a choice for Masters of Evil can be used, then, and as you see here, you see Unlimited X-Men and Bishop, and you go back to the X-Men, Quicksilver, New War, they use Cabal, but I'm not sure they had to necessarily use Cabal. Maybe they didn't know about or they weren't thinking about the Echo to help clear that room because of the counters. But even so, what you're seeing is guys are going in, and if they're using the counter sheet or they're seeing things done, they're looking at, Extreme New War, Extreme New War, Extreme New War, and they're using Masters of Evil, Echo. That's fine. Because if that's where they're going to use their Masters of Evil, then you're controlling where they go. And then there's less chance that they'll use Masters of Evil on room 1. that limits room 1 to saying, hey, Cabal or Superior 6, which is also like the whole thing with not room 6, room 1. And that's the whole thing with room 6. So now they're looking at Cabal or Masters of Evil. So you're dictating 3 rooms and you're limiting counters. And I'm not saying they won't come up with something else, but that's the mindset. So now if you're using, let's say, Pegasus in 2 instead of Bifrost, we'll start with Pegasus. You're seeing here, Bifrost is a counter. Cabal, Pegasus, which we know that's a lot of RNG. And then you're seeing Bifrost, seeing Hive Mind Scroll. And so now you're kind of controlling where they're going to use their scroll. So if you do put something more powerful in 4, then you know that they're going to be looking at using their scroll if you're running Pegasus in 2 or 4. So you're making decisions. And not saying even with Black Order, they may still say, hey, I need to look at using my scroll there. So, and that was my decision to go there, because as you look at Bifrost, the thing is you're seeing more, you see 2 counters using Black Order. Before it was just Cat in the Hat. And let's see, I think Desir, he gave credit Cat in the Hat. And then Desir actually went in, or Green Ranger did it as well. So 2 people have used Black Order. You can see how Black Order will work. And that may become more common, because if Black Order can regularly counter Bifrost, then why not? And then you see Hive Mind. And guys are using straight Hive Mind, and I think, the one that's really mastered that is going to be Doolum. So you see Jex over here. Doolum's got to be over here. I don't know. I don't see Doolum, but I know he's done it with Hive Mind often. And Desir did it with Hive Mind. And so then you see Hive Mind Scroll. You actually see New Warriors. So who beat that with New Warriors? Desir actually went in with New Warriors and beat Bifrost. Then you see Pegasus APOC. I know I've gone in with Pegasus APOC and beat him with that. Am I on there for that? Yeah, I did that as well. So then you have a lot of guys going to Pegasus Void Knight. So in the sense of there are more counters, yes. But, you could make it a little more difficult and try to stretch out where they could use their Pegasus. Maybe you might want to run your New Avengers somewhere in 3 or your Gamma in 4. And now you're making choices with your Pegasus or your New Warriors. But for the most part, you see more counters. Even with Bifrost Scroll, guys are going in with Cabal, which could be a good thing if you can afford to put your scroll on defense. At the end of the day, there are technically fewer counters for Pegasus. And so right now, I think guys are going to probably use Bifrost, which most guys are probably still going to have Bifrost on defense because it's going to be bigger than that Pegasus. I just went all out just for this, and I ain't really for War 2. But I just went all out on my Pegasus for this. And then Hive Mind Scroll, and that's really dictating where a person is going to use their scroll. And so now, if I'm trying to make guys use their scroll on 2, and then perhaps even on Black Order, because let's go. What is Black Order? Is it on here? Yeah, Black Order Quicksilver. So you can go in with New Warriors 5, Black Order Quicksilver, New Warriors, Black Order Superior 6. And so then you kind of dictating where they use their New Warriors. So if you're going to use New Warriors or whatever else, you get them to use their New Warriors there on 4. And that's why I kind of pulled the Secret Defenders, because it's like, okay, well, maybe they will use their New Warriors there, and maybe they won't. And so let's flip back to my room 3. And so that's the idea behind room 3, because this will be a New Warriors type counter. So now they I'm not saying they won't come up with something else, because they may use Masters of Evil here. But, you got your New Warriors look on 3 and 4, or your Masters of Evil on 3, or your Masters of Evil and APOC maybe will take 4. But you're limiting the counters, you're making them use choices, and then, of course, as our teams get bigger, then guys are looking at punch acrosses or punch ups. And so that dictates where they're going to use what. And the idea of 6 is not that they're going to do a lot of damage, because you see here, so there's not a lot of damage dealers going on. New World get out there and they'll use their echo, and that's one tune less that can really cause damage to this team that's built that'll have some sustain. So I have Rogue and Colossus that are built kind of tanky to take the hits. And I think Colossus is level 98, and if this works, he'll go to level 100. But they both can take hits, and as well as giving a little bit of defense to the team. Sunspot is going to give this offense up to the team. Nick is going to go in, whether he dies after his first turn or not. He's going to put out hopefully his shield. I forget what guys are, but to get the shield tanks. And then if this were to work according to plan with no echo, then there'll be all kind of assists going on because of New War and because of the taunts taking place. And then by that time, if somebody takes damage, then Rogue will taunt, or Colossus is slow, but by the time he gets to his turn, he'll start taunting. And so the idea is just to get the taunts to float around and make them use something specific in here. So if they're going to come in with Masters of Evil with Echo, or if they're going to come in with New Warriors or New Warriors with Echo, then you're controlling the board. And what I'm starting to see is you got to try to control the board, because then you can start keeping track of what are the points guys are getting on these counters. Now they may get high efficiency coming in with New Warriors or Masters of Evil on this room, but if they're using New Warriors and Masters of Evil on 3 and 4, well then now they're not using Masters of Evil on 1. And so those are the things that I'm kind of looking at on how can I make this work without digging into my offense. And so this is probably going to be somewhat ideal, at least for the rest of this week, to try it out, because now my offense includes the Secret Defenders. And I can run straight Secret Defenders. I can run Secret Defenders with any type of fifth I can think of to plow through, especially something that might be in 6, like their Secret Defenders. And I have a feeling Secret Defenders with Strange might actually counter the Secret Defenders in there, because I used Quicksilver and it was sketchy, but it just makes me think about the advantages to them in that room, as well as maybe they'll be better for me as a counter on Infinity Watch, or maybe they'll be better for me as a counter in room 4, going against whatever's in there, unless it's Scroll. So it just makes me look at things that might work with them, using them somewhere else. I definitely see them being, having some advantages in 3. And so we'll just see how this works out, because that's just another team I've added that I can use on, at least half of these rooms, in addition to what I already have. So I just want to start the video off with this part. I know it's pretty long. It's probably 20-25 minutes of the video. And then the second part of the video will be after this, the matchmaking starts, and then we can get in and do the attacks. All right, guys. Chat later.